I'm not going to ever mention anybody's names on stuff like this, but it's interesting to talk about the psyche of the individual plumbing company and where they sit with it. So I guess part of it is to come to the realization that you need professional services on some of these items. Some of the things you might be able to do better on your own, like your own personalized Facebook post, right?
Right.
Because we can't get the Photoshop.
You're gonna be able to do your Facebook better on a like day in day out basis than we can. Now, when it comes to helping you navigate the Facebook Ads Manager and properly boost and build your audience properly, that's where we can.
Yeah, we can manage spend and get that done better, but we can't get the personalized photos. We can help set up, reviews and integrate reviews and get you modules to text them. But you're going to be able to get the review because you're in front of the client.
Yeah.
And so
I like to say that we provide you with the tool, but you got to use it.
On that one, on stuff like Schema, on stuff like Schema, you flat out can't do it.
Yeah.
Hey there, guys. It is Nolen and Jason here with Plumbing Webmasters.
Howdy.
Today is for me a really great topic, and if you listen to it, I think it'll make sense to you. But it's what is Schema for SEO?
It's one of my favorite topics too.
Yeah, and Schema and its influence on SEO for plumbers. So I kind of like that title better. Schema and its influence on SEO for plumbers. So let's dig into it and say, like, well, what is Schema?
Schema is, I like to say, it's the code within the code.
Right.
It's an extra layer you can add to your web page source code that gets inserted into the HTML code, and it's fancy labeling with hierarchy, so that it tells the search engine, Google, just tells very specifically what things are. This is the name of your company. This image is your logo. This is your phone number. This is your address, and that's just a beginning.
I want to say one thing. So if you're on Chrome and you pull up your own website and you click Control-U, you can look at the source code on the page that you're viewing.
Right.
So that's the code that Google sees, or the algorithm sees, when they go to look at your website, and it's like really misunderstood and appreciated.
Yeah. Definitely.
Because it's what they actually see, not the visual part that you're looking at. So you can have a pretty website and like really horrific code base, right?
Right, definitely.
And so they're reading the code base, which helps them parcel all the items on the page. And we talked about this the other day, another time, and semantic markup is an older type of code.
Yeah. Back in the day, HTML, the code was very kind of opaque and arcane. The pieces of the code meant something very basic, like this is a block, or this is a block, or this is a block. They didn't have any real meaning. Yeah.
Bottom.
And nowadays we have pieces of code that say this is the header, this is the main content, this is the footer, this is a sidebar. And that's a great start. But then you can take Schema and insert it into that stuff and say, yeah, this is a sidebar, and within this sidebar I've got 3 different blog entry titles.
Right.
And these are the dates, and this is the author, and this is when they were modified, and this is even the main subject matter and stuff like that.
So why is it important is because 99% of you guys out there, and a little more than 99% actually, have a basic template website. Right. So slightly, I'd say 99.2% of them have a basic template.
Almost everybody that comes to us that we look at, I can immediately go into the source code and I can find where it's pulling up the WordPress theme file, and I see that theme name, and I search that, and that's from a site called Theme Forest, or a couple other ones. That's a $30 or $60. They're always $30 or $60.
Yeah, and the reason is that, so here's why it becomes important. So since all of you guys have this, and I've had every once in a while someone on the phone will say, "Oh, Nolen, I have Schema code," and so let's talk about that for a minute. So you either have almost none or none,
or it's broken.
So
and let me tell you, Schema is not easy, and so it's broken a lot.
So how many pieces of Schema code does 99% of the viewing population here have on average of hundreds of websites that we have looked at for schema code, or thousands maybe?
The vast majority of them have a single 2-line bit of schema that says, this is a website, please search it.
Okay.
Which is pretty pointless
And they
because
might-
Google already knows that.
Maybe
And then-
the address or something.
Yeah, they might have the basic company information schema. So generally speaking, we're talking 5 or 6 pieces of data.
Okay, so
have been
how many
structured.
pieces of schema are available in the schema library?
If you go on schema.org and start looking up all of the types and properties, it's hundreds of thousands.
So it's being added to
ridiculous.
all the time. And how
Yeah.
many pieces of schema do we currently have for our clients
We track about 100 on a standard client.
on a standard? But it can
Yeah.
go up.
Yeah, it can go up.
have
We
some that have
recently
more.
did an e-commerce site with a client with actual physical products
Hundreds
rather than
and
just
hundreds.
services,
Yeah.
and then every one of those products could have stuff schemaed on it, and
Right.
we did that.
Yeah, and so one thing, so basically what the root of everything that we talk about, unless it's a paid advertising thing, which we're a full digital marketing agency and do all that too, but when we talk about stuff like this, it's all around organic optimization, right?
Right.
So it's around helping Google. So if you have a client, or I'm sorry, if you had a competitor, and your competitor and you guys say that Google measures 1,000 things to determine who's going to show up in search rankings, and you guys have 999 things the same, or let's say 900 things the same, but you have 100 pieces of schema coded out, who do you think they're going to favor to pull you up in search rankings?
Right.
So they're gonna not have to guess at what your product offering is, at what your service is, at what your radius is, at where your logo is. All these are standard marked up items.
If
right?
you've ever looked at a search result and seen some companies listed, and 1 or 2 of them had like their logo, a nice little thumbnail of their logo next to their search result, that's because they had it schemed properly.
Yeah.
That's the only way you'll see that show up.
Google doesn't want to have to guess at this, and so if you take the guesswork out of it, back in the day when he was talking about semantic markup or
Before semantic
before
markup,
that,
yeah.
then they didn't know anything, and of course search results didn't look as good. So as websites get better code base on them, they're able to embellish search results much better, pull this stuff in, pull in photos and pictures and logos. One of the most recognizable pieces of schema code that you guys can see out there in the marketplace is that when somebody searches, you used to only see this on national sites like Facebook and Yelp and stuff like that. They would pull stars for their rating next to the organic search. So you type in the name of your company and you'd see your Facebook or Home Advisor or Yelp star rating on the organic listing that you have on the interior page. We've been doing that for almost 3 years now.
Right.
And the industry's just now catching on and adding this, but I guarantee you they are only doing this tiny little bit of code. We've been adding code for years on schema, and it's called our aggregate star rating, and it's for years it was just our clients doing this, and if you're ranked wherever you are on the page, the eye draws right to those 5 stars.
Right. And if you see any search result with those 5 stars, that's because there's schema present. Without schema, it will never be there.
Yeah, and you only saw it on national companies because it's high-end code base like we do here.
Right.
And we had it on our individual plumbers websites years ago.
A couple years ago, yeah.
Years ago.
Yeah.
So we do that sort of high-end code base. That's what you get when you have professional services. I wanted to talk about this. So we had why would a plumber care about this sort of programming code? It's actually what you're calling for. So
Right.
when somebody calls up, it's why you're watching the video, it's what you're searching for. You don't know exactly what it is. You hear the rhetoric of some salesperson on the phone, and they all claim they're going to provide SEO for plumbers and do all this work, and then it never works properly for you. It's because you don't know what they're supposed to be doing, and you may not understand all of this or even be able to go into the source code and click Control U and look at it and tell what we're talking about. But if it's done properly, they will have more points to source the data that's on there, and much less all the valuable, highly structured content that we write and everything else that wraps up. This is one element of SEO
Right.
that is huge, right?
Yeah. But
And-
it's an element that it takes this information. Let's say you've got your website, you've got your competitor's website. You're with us, so you have everything possible schemaed and properly structured, and your competitor doesn't.
What
You
are
offer the same
what are the
services.
chances? Like how many other? I mean, do you know of anyone else providing this level of
I
schema?
frankly have yet to see anybody running structuring as many points a day as we do. We haven't seen it yet.
At one point in time, we looked up some national name brand companies, and they didn't have as much
Even they
schema
weren't doing it
as
yet.
we had on
So-
our local Plumbers sites.
Right.
Yeah,
Which it's actually kind of crazy.
But the point, he's making he's drawing a correlation to a client. But the point is, that's the reason you get highly skilled services. We don't know of someone else doing plumbing websites that does this.
Well, the point I was making is that the reason Google will prefer to show this site with schema higher is not just, hey, schema, checkbox ticked off, show them higher. It's because Google looks at that and they understand this site better and they're more comfortable and trust it more because it has given them better data to work with.
Yeah.
And so they can figure out what they're looking at better.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly why
Yeah.
you want to have it, and we're doing it as a skilled service. I'm going to jump off on a slightly different topic when it comes to this. So we have people call in various stages of awareness of what they need to do in their marketing.
Right.
And so some people are hoping to get it done for $99, and anytime I make a price point, it depends on your market and what we're doing, but we're typically about half price almost of anyone close to doing what we do. But again, they don't do this high quality work, and we know for sure they don't do schema. In
Right.
fact, one of our primary competitors, I know that 6 months ago I was talking to a potential client, and they were talking to them as well, and they told them that they did not do any schema. So I know that the primary competition that we have at least doesn't do this, and in my opinion doesn't do nearly the quality of work, and we're typically almost half as much as some of these other people. But you can't get quality work done for $99 a month. So
Right.
I had somebody call the other day, and Jason already had this conversation. But and I'm not ever mentioning anybody's names on stuff like this, but it's interesting to talk about the psyche of the individual
Right.
plumbing company and where they sit with it. So I guess part of it is to come to the realization that you need professional services on some of these items. Some of the things you might be able to do better on your own, like your own personalized Facebook post, right?
Right,
Because we
right.
can't get the Photoshop.
You're gonna be able to do your Facebook better on a like day in day out basis than we can.
We can.
Now, when it comes to helping you navigate the Facebook Ads Manager and properly boost and build your audience
Yeah.
properly, that's where we can.
Yeah,
help.
we can manage spend and get that done better,
Right.
but we can't get the personalized photos. We can help set up, reviews and integrate reviews and get you modules to text them, but you're going to be able to get the review because you're in front of the client.
Yeah.
And so
I like to say that we provide you with the tool, but you got to use it.
on that one, on stuff like
Yeah.
schema,
Yeah, on reviews.
stuff like schema, you flat out can't do it.
Yeah.
Stuff like properly structured content and data to the depth level that we do, you can't do it. We have SEO copywriters. So this is the sort of thing that we're doing in here that we do regularly for the client that they simply can't do on their own. And you need every little point and signal from Google that you can possibly get to dominate organic rankings, because it's still 76% of search results.
Right. That
So-
means 3/4 of people skip the ads
And go
right down to
go to
organic.
organic. And so
That means, by the way, just making a point, again, not dogging PPC here, but if you think you only need PPC, you're paying for that PPC to only get 1/4 of the eyeballs looking at the page.
the average person watching has never had a plethora of organic clicks to the website.
Right. They don't understand.
They don't understand the value.
Yeah, the value that it really is the best bang for the buck.
Because if you're buying a lead from someone, and I'm not dogging those, I'm okay with someone buying a lead. We can help with ad spend. It's okay for pay-per-click. It's okay for Facebook spend. What's not okay is not doing as much as possible in organic, because it is the best return on investment. And when that phone call comes in, it is someone that's already bought into your brand, sees your reviews, read content, likes your website, likes your company already, much less likely to shop and become a repeat client for you. It's a
Right.
much, much better phone call. So it's important. But anyway, so this guy calls up, and he
I'm
was
smirking because
he was brand new in it, and it's fine. And we're going over and getting him set up. It was a small town, so it wasn't much to get him going, but it was more than the $99 he was paying. And his site had been live for 3 days, and it was done by a national company, and that you've heard of before. and it was this basic horrible template, right? And I went round and round about we have to redesign the website so that the code base can go into
Yeah, we got to rebuild it. We got to start over.
the content. Can you just write content? Well, no, because there's like hundreds of details. There's hundreds of things, or over 100 things on just schema code, not to mention everything else that we do when we launch a website.
That's not even looking at the semantic markup, which we also do. That doesn't
Structured
count
URLs.
optimization of JavaScript and all code, which is something we do. That doesn't count the style sheets, which is yet again something we do. And yeah, I haven't even gotten out of code. That's my point. And I'm still going.
Yeah.
And then we go into actual visual design and content and everything else.
Right.
And each of those has a whole can of worms underneath it that we do as well.
So I said, look, I'll call him Bob. I said, look, Bob, it's, for $99 you can't really get anything done. He said, oh, no, Nolen, we have unlimited changes. And I'm like, yeah. I kind of laughed, and I was like, and the point is, I didn't go into this with him at the time, but I did say, hey, Bob, look, you can't get much human being labor done for $99. Do you really look? And he actually wanted a website like we'd done already.
Yeah.
So this guy was a water treatment specialty, and we have several of those, and he had looked at one who is a guy that started with us 2 years ago, still a client, and was brand new.com, started up fresh. It's a two-year-old.com, and he now has himself and 2 other guys on the road.
Right.
And their phone rings every day with daily call volume. I know because one of the guys came over and helped me install a water treatment system for my house. I did a counter mount. They drilled the granite and the whole bit. So anyway, the guy's business was booming, and he's like, well, I'd like to have a site like that. I said, well, yeah, that's the sort of site that gets up in search ranking and makes a business.
Yeah, you've got to pay for it.
But he wanted us to work on this, and it took a long time to explain to him, and I still never got it all the way through his head, because it's like, hey, we just need to make a proper website, tons of great content, and then start working on everything from citations to domain authority and regular work and map postings and GMB and all this stuff. And so he had this $99 a month. I said, that's worthless. After looking at what I had, it's worthless. I know it may take a little time, but everybody has a different time frame. So he had called me. We don't make outbound calls.
Right.
So he had called me already. He knew something was wrong.
Yeah, he knew he needed more.
And he wanted me to start a second website, which is a fundamental Google Webmaster
That's
rule.
death, basically.
Yeah, they will penalize the second website or the one not associated with the Google account.
Either not associated with the Google account or the older one. There's a lot of
it depends on
ways that you can go.
You can eventually probably get it to recognize by the Google button. That's a whole nother podcast, by the way, about how national companies screw local plumbers around by commandeering their Google account and their website and subordinating their tenured website with their junky little website.
Right.
But so he had that done. It was connected, and he was on the hook for 12 more months. And I'm like, okay.
I mean, fortunately, at 12 months at $99 a month,
at
least it's not a lot of money.
That's what I said. Yeah,
it's a lot of time.
It's like, look at it this way. You've, I've heard people that spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. You spent almost nothing. It's like, are you really going to wait 12 months of your life on Earth to wait to see if somebody's website, to honor this commitment? And I'm not saying he should have broken the commitment. I'm just saying he should have continued to pay it and move on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he
just accept it as a mistake.
Yeah.
And deal with it.
So it's sitting up there. He's not to grips with it yet. What'll end up happening with him, and we talked about this the other day. So he'll end up not signing up, because he hasn't come to grips yet with this. He's stuck in this agreement, which he's not. Nobody's stuck. You can walk off and do whatever you want.
Right.
Me personally, I'd pay it and get something else, realize my error, take a little spanking, and be like, okay, I learned something.
Right.
That's what I would do. But he'll have this website. He'll not get any calls in the spring. He'll begin to look for leads and begin to pay for clicks. Someone will wrap him into probably what I call the shell trick and black box billing. It's a black box billing with a shell trick combo. And what that is when somebody says, hey, Bob, we need $2,000, $3,000, $5,000. Bob, how much can you spend per month? Okay, we'll take $1,400 if that's all you got, you cheapskate.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, so it's kind of the used car lot deal to like, well, how much can you afford? per month. Okay, we're going to take that and we'll do some towards SEO, some towards mapping, some towards management, a little towards social media, and some towards pay-per-click and pay-per-click management. And somebody takes, like, in this guy's case, they might pry $3,000 a month out of him.
Right.
So they take $3,000, they put $1,000 towards his SEO effort and mapping and all this. They put $1,000 towards social media and other stuff they bake up on this report, and then a whopping $1,000 goes towards PPC, which they take a management fee for as well.
Right.
So he's got, like,
By the way, that management fee, when you're in a black box situation, if you're charged the management fee separately, you're safer, you know where your money's
Right.
going. When you're just giving them an amount of money and they're just taking their fee out, that fee can be, and we know this for a fact for some big companies, that fee can be 50% of what you give them.
that fee is 50% on those big companies.
Yeah, so some of them are a little more scrupulous.
Let me give you,
and we'll do 20 or 30.
Let me give you even less scrupulous one that I hear about all the time.
Okay.
So they'll take the $3,000 and let's say they spent $1,500 towards the advertising, but then the organic does start getting going a little bit. They'll throttle down on that, and eventually they're just keeping all $3,000. So they'll watch the leads, and as organic goes, they'll take it, and then they'll go whoop and take the whole lot of the money off the table.
Right.
Because it's black box build, which I'll define what I mean by that. You don't know how much money they're spending on there. So
you give them $3,000 a month. They say, for this, you got this many clicks, but you don't know specifically what the money was spent on.
And they took all the money and put it in their pocket, and then they give you their third-party report, not the Google Analytics report or the Google pay-per-click account report. They don't give that to you.
Yeah. When you talk to us, we show you your Google Analytics page, your Google pay-per-click,
and we have a separate
report.
management.
Yeah.
So he'll end up. The point in saying this is because if someone doesn't respect basic components of marketing online, like design and code, and forget about everything else like content and Google account and reviews and all this other stuff, but if they ignore these primary deals, you're going to end up with a lower return on investment because you're having to buy every lead or pay for every click. And so he's going to end up going down that road. And if this doesn't click and then have some sort of respect level for proper services or get educated enough to understand that it's needed, he'll just end up having a lower profit margin business the whole time he's doing it, if he stays in business.
But we hear this all the time. I talked to our plumber last week who he paid a lot of money to a couple of and you know who they are. They're the big companies that sell you leads.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of big ones. I don't even probably have to say the name.
We know who they are.
And he was like, I have to pay this much to them and this much to them. And I was trying to explain to him that his organic effort could get rid of that. But he was terrified of no longer paying them because he had gotten himself into that trap. And he was afraid that he would have no leads.
It's okay too if you're getting going. What ought to happen is that every effort ought to be as robust organically as possible because it is where the best return on investment is. And as that gets going, you can throttle down on the other ad spend.
Right.
Or whether you're paying for a click or paying for a lead, you can then throttle down on it and increase your rate of return on investment of the marketing dollar.
Right.
So I mean that makes sense. I would never suggest just jumping on organic and then immediately canceling all lead sources.
Well, no, I wasn't trying to get him to do that, but he was in this mindset. He wanted to stop paying these other guys, but he was afraid to stop paying these other guys.
Right.
And I mean, he was already seeing results from the site we'd done for him, and he was actually pretty happy with it. But he was just complaining to me that he was still having to pay these other guys this much.
Yeah.
You know,
it's frustrating, but I mean, for me personally, I pay multiple sources that are reasonable.
Yeah.
Like I do all the organic I can humanly do, everything we can do. We pay on social media. We pay for some clicks on Google. We do all the standard stuff because it's just the smart thing to do.
Yeah, organic is the foundation. It's the start. It is the best bang for your buck. But once you've done everything you can do organic, then
do some other
to grow
stuff.
Beyond that, then you might have to do ad. You might have to do some ad spend.
You don't
have to buy some leads.
You don't have to. I choose to because we're in marketing. But I'd say roughly a third of our clients still spend money on ads.
Yeah.
But about 2/3 of them live entirely off of organic. In fact, the guy that owned the water treatment company that this guy wanted to be like, that's our client.
Yeah.
He doesn't do any ad spend at all. Like he does zero, and he keeps 3 trucks on the road, on the outskirts of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex in a rural area. So where the water treatment needs to be done.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that is why, I mean, Schema may not sound glamorous, but
isn't.
Yeah, this is why you want it done, and this is the reason a plumber ought to want this, because this is what it does for you. And a lot of times I think that people don't know what the marketing company does. And I know that we're one of ever so few that does high quality work, and you and I both know that they can't go. The average plumber can't just pick up the phone and call a marketing company and optimize well online.
Right.
They're going to get screwed around by these nationals, and even solopreneurs working from home. The guys that market on Facebook and tell them they're going to funnel or do this, but really it's just someone taking your pay-per-click ad spend, or they don't have resources to perform proper services.
Yeah, I mean, I've got, you only see me and Nolen here, but we got almost 20 people back there in the rest of our offices
that are fantastic.
Yeah, they're fantastic working on this stuff for you. And one dude at home is not going to be able to do all this.
Yeah, they can't. Nor somebody you hire, which you wouldn't be able to manage because you don't know what to tell them to do.
Right.
So.
Right.
But anyway, so if you have questions, man, we're real happy to answer them. Wherever you are on your search for getting dominant online, we'd love to be part of it. We have multiple deals that we can place you in that will work for you. Anytime that we spend your money or that you come on with us as a client, I always put you in the best return so that we can maintain you as a lifelong client. And we would love to be of service. So we appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed that one, and we look forward to hearing from you.
See ya.